All right, guys, coming to you from three different points in California today. That's right, the Central Valley, Alameda, and was it Westlake Village, California? It's time for
in
Zig
Los
in the Zone.
Angeles.
Yeah, and it's time for Zig in the Zone with
I
Ralph,
am
Zig,
here,
Tycho.
Big Ralph Tycho, and I have a special guest. First of all, how you doing, Paulie? I gotta ask.
I'm doing well, my friend, doing well. Thank you. How are you doing?
All right, exceptional circumstances today. We are three people remote and trying to get it together. Um, Fred Wallin is my returning guest, scheduled for last week. You were a little bit ill, and we put it off. And with so much going on, I'm glad you're here, Fred. The last time we had you on the air, um, uh, it was it was Biden blowing up, having a horrible day, and we were relieved shortly after the show when we got a new candidate, and that candidate was supposed to have gotten rid of the evil Trump. Well, it didn't happen. And we are stuck with a situation today that I think is on the way to being solved. I think that the Epstein thing is coming to a head. It will mean the resignation or the impeachment of Trump. And with that goes Vance as well, because if he's impeached, Vance is impeached. And all the members of his candidate, of his cabinet. Um, you think that's a possibility, Fred?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry not to be so delighted with your diagnosis,
No,
but
no
can you
chance.
tell me why? Because we need that in the worst way.
All right, let's go back. It's not even Trump's fault. The idiots in the Democratic Party in 2016 nominated Hillary when they knew she had baggage. Should have been somebody else, but they gave her all the money, and so she ended up the nominee. He wouldn't have beaten a Bernie Sanders, or he wouldn't have beaten a whole slew of other candidates. He beat her. All right, so now we get to 2020, and if James Clyburn had not opened his big mouth, Biden would not have been the nominee. Again, Trump wouldn't have. It's just unbelievable. So that put Biden in the circumstance of an interim president, which of course, when somebody says that, you know they're lying. And then we get 4 years later, and he doesn't want to step down. When he finally was pushed out, it was too late. They didn't have a nomination ballot type thing. They just gave it to Kamala, and you see the results. And as I told you off the air, I do believe Trump to be the devil in disguise. I believe this is Berlin, Germany, 1933 to 1945. Doesn't matter what happens. He doesn't care as long as he protects himself. Now, Congress is going to go on recess probably through August. So this is going to stall for 6 months. It'll never happen. There are no testicles in the Republican Party and the MAGA Party. So we're screwed. And we're going to have to battle it. And I mean physically battle it. I do believe it's going to be, again, a situation of Charlottesville in 2017. And again, Trump doesn't care. He's never going to step down. And it's just not going to happen. And it's going to be warfare.
Wow. Paulie, what do you say to this, if you would?
There's a lot of stuff going on with this. So he's definitely Teflon Don, right? I guess I should put my camera on. Hi guys. Here we go. Everything seems like a chore today. Sorry guys. Doing everything. I'm doing everything long-handed. There we go. Uh, Everything's a chore nowadays. So going back to what you were saying, he's still Teflon Don, right? He's still the guy that nothing will stick to him. So I don't know if they release the Epstein files, if that will get him. It seems funny that what's getting him is promising that we were going to see some information from that. His whole base was really, they were like Pavlov's dog. They were salivating at the mouth, right? Because they know that there's some real rich and famous people, mostly Bill Clinton, right? I think that's who they had their sights set on, as they said, well, we know Clinton's slimy because he's been with Lewinsky and he's been to Epstein Island. But I don't know why Trump didn't think it through. I don't know why he didn't think, oh shit, I've been there. Oh shit, I was friends with him. Why am I really pushing release the Epstein files? And this was early on. His whole thing, his whole base, that was part of the get 'em. You know, it was Hunter Biden, it was Hillary in the email, it was Epstein in the files. It was a lot of these type of salacious National Enquirer kind of things that his base got lathered up on. And so if this is the thing that takes him down, it's of his own doing. What a dumbass, right? But I don't think it is. I don't know what's going to take him down. I think just the sheer fact of that he's running the country into the ground on multiple levels, economically, we're screwed. Around the world, we're now what he used to say that we were. We were actually considered America. People looked forward to coming here and the possibility of hope and prosperity and this and that. Now people want to get the fuck out. And nobody wants to associate with us. Now we're the ugly Americans. And we are. And it's scary. And so all the things he used to say about America, he's turned it into economically. And also it just shows where more than half our country is. They're willing to go down with the ship. They're willing to go down with the ship just because they have their party. I mean, at this point, it might as well be the Communist Party.
Well, don't you guys see MAGA making concessions in the last couple of weeks that they're almost demanding, if you look at the polls, that these files be released?
There's going to be redaction. There's going to be redactions, Ralph. His name will, if it comes out, his name will be gone. It's not going to even happen.
Do you know what we need? You know what we need, guys? We need an old-fashioned leak. We need someone to leak out all these files. We need like an Edward Snowden, or we need
Dershowitz,
or whatever, and just release it all unredacted.
Well,
and you know, if it is redacted, we're gonna be able to read it like some of the Stormy Daniels lawsuit, defendant number one and shit. We know defendant number one is gonna be him. So I think it's just a matter of time.
You want it resolved? Okay. Right now, Pam Bondi, so-called Attorney General, is meeting with Maxine, who's got 20 years.
Oh yeah.
You know she's telling her, listen, if you don't say anything, we'll pardon you.
Yeah.
Obviously, Maxine's got the book. Maxine is the leak. Maxine's got everything. Maxine's not going to say a word. They're going to release her. And then at the end of that, if she says anything, they'll kill her. But she won't say anything. So even that, from their side, is going to be covered up. I don't think it's going to happen. I really think it's going to take karma to maybe give him a stroke. And, I don't spit on graves too often. I'd fly to Washington or Mar-a-Lago to spit on his. That's the only way it's going to happen. He's going to have to go down. Karma's going to have to strike. Other than that, we're screwed. There are no testicles in Washington. And again, the reason he didn't have to think ahead is he knows there are no testicles. He knows he's got power. They're all worried. All of Congress is worried about getting reelected. And if he goes against them, they're not going to get reelected. And 1 out of 3 senators is going to get going up for reelection. And they don't want to lose either. Take a look at the 2 females in Alaska and Maine. They know that what Trump's doing, and they talk big. But when it comes to it, how do they vote? They vote with him. End of story.
Well, and so you're right. He's got all the cronies. He's got the game locked up. He's got the FBI. He's got Bondi. He's got Patel or whatever.
The DOJ and all that.
Yeah,
shit.
he's even got the Pentagon. So here's the thing. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories about if Jeffrey Epstein really committed suicide. Is he alive? Was he killed? Multiple things, right? And so here's the Ghislaine Maxwell thing. They better watch her. And you're right. They better get her on their side, meaning the Trump side, if things are just going to go whatever. But yeah, she's either going to be locked up and never see the light of day, maybe shipped off to El Salvador, I don't know, somewhere, never see the light of day, or she's just gonna disappear, never see the light of day, or they'll end up pardoning her, and if she did come out, then it would all be kind of he said, she said again.
If this sounds like Nazism,
there's a lot of things about this that really remind me of how Hitler rallied Germany behind him.
Fred, you published on Facebook this morning a post about just that. What are some of the things that are analogous to Nazism based on that article you wrote? You copied, but it was a beautiful article.
Well, first of all, the most votes that Hitler ever got was 37% in Germany. Trump got 48 to 49% in 2024. That tells you one thing from the start. The most he ever got, Hitler, was 37%. Took him years to build up to 38 when he started the real strong arm things. That's what Trump's doing right now. I mean, he's controlling everything. And take a look at the hate crimes in this country, particularly, let's say, against Jews. Since Trump has opened his mouth 10 years ago, take a look at the percentage that's gone up. The word Shylock he used last week. Now, unless you're an idiot, you know what the Shylock meant. He acted like he didn't. The problem with that is that when niece Mary wrote her book in 2017 or 18, and I read it, and I have it in another room here, Fred and Donald Trump at the dinner table would use anti-Semitic terms like blank, 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 and Shylock. So now on Facebook, I just call him Shylock, because folks, what Shylock is a money person that cheats and lies and steals and swindles. There's no bigger Shylock than Trump.
You don't have to be Jewish to be a Shylock.
Believe me, there's no.
Or even perceived as a Shylock. How do you tell the difference? Religion has nothing to do with it, and that he uses the religious card once a day. Some religion, some nationality, some immigrants. So they're all killers. They eat dogs and this kind of shit. How do people keep falling for it?
Because they want to think they're better than somebody else. If you're, let's say, below middle class and you're struggling to make it, you want to think that you're better than another group. You have to think you're better than another group. And he makes them think that they are better than another group. So their hatred comes out, their racism comes out, and he's very good at it. He's always done that.
So things haven't changed in this world in 80 fucking years?
No, no.
Is that what you're saying? Really?
History is prologue. There's everything returns, everything comes back, everything repeats. There's not a question about that.
Yeah, style definitely comes back around, even shitty style. And so, yeah, you're right. History repeats itself. That's why we should learn from the shit that happened 100 years ago that's happening now, that's going to happen in another 100. So, people are people. Some of the same evil shit just keeps coming around. Unless we learn from it, we're never going to evolve. Right? So,
Is it just fear that people have more than anything?
it's a big ingredient, right? We were talking about how the media serves up fear on a daily. I used to have the line, you remember, Ralph, I used to have the line, I would say, during my comedy set, I would say something like, oh yeah, I love the 11 o'clock news. They would say, good evening, welcome to the 11 o'clock news. And that would be the end of my good evening. Because from right then and there, it would roll out shit. And it doesn't matter which news outlet you're working on, they all have their agenda. That's why I take my doses of news in small doses. And I take them from a couple different places a day. And I still try to stay informed and form my own opinions, because somewhere between Fox News and CNN is probably the truth. And so I think it's just not turning on blinders. You can't be into it the whole time. Otherwise, we have to worry about our blood pressure and chance of stroke and heart attack. I saw the other day that John Goodman was being interviewed for someone, and in the middle of the interview, he popped out his little vape pen and took a hit, put it down. I think that's where we're at in this country, right? Everybody's got a vape pen. I'm surprised my doctor wasn't doing a rectal exam with a glove with his little pot vape pen in his hand.
Right.
So
or using that as a probe.
Well, the advances in modern medicine. So
yes, they can make you feel better coming or going. Let's put it that way. And let me ask you this: you've been in a lot of pain recently, Fred. You broke your hip and what have you. You're in California like I am. I hope you're using gummies or some sort of relief along the cannabis line. This station is so pro cannabis, and has our theories have helped so many people be relieved from both physical and mental pain. I hope you're imbibing on some level.
Not the strong stuff, but some stuff. In the hospital, though, they just continue to give pain pills, and those totally wrecked my stomach and my gut, and so I'm still battling that too. And it's a struggle, and I haven't done the marijuana thing since college, the real marijuana thing since college.
Well, I hope you will, because you just gave the perfect answer. Why not do the stuff that makes your stomach feel bad, and this, that, and the other thing? And now that it's legal, I hope you and every one of y'all out there that's struggling in any way, mentally or physically, can get some of the joy and relief of pain, the joy that comes from relief of mental or physical pain. And that's just my hope for you, Fred, because you, like Paul, are a dog person. I remember crying when your dog passed away. What was it, about 5 years ago? And um, you told me about it, and I literally cried. And I would have Paul's dog cried because basically dogs give me more enjoyment than people do nowadays. So just do the best you can. What's the prognosis? What's the rehab that you have going?
Everybody says, and I go to rehab twice or three times a week. Everybody's different. They never give you an answer. My brother, who's 5 years younger than I am, broke his hip years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. He was walking within 2 days. I've been at 4.5 months, and I'm not. I can walk, but it's like not normally. So I use the walker because my wife, you're gonna fall, you're gonna fall. So we use the walker if I go out, and the only place I go out to basically is the rehab, and that's it. When we go to the market, I don't even get out of the car anymore. My wife does all the shopping. No, I know it's a struggle, and everybody's different. And also, you see, my problem is I fell on my left hip and broke it, and my right side I've got what is called lumbar stenosis. So I have both sides. And some days the lumbar stenosis side hurt more than the hip side. So I'm doubly hit. It was all because I mentioned off the show, before the show, I was reaching for baseball cards. So it's a sports oriented hip.
It's a sports injury.
And
You and Bo Jackson with the hip.
Hold on. So
most
last week when you were out, Fred, we should have just said you were on the DL.
yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's why that's the term we're calling it now. We're on the DL. Okay. All right. We gotta have some friendlier terms for this. By the way, we had a comment on social media from Michael B. Morgan. He said he's just weeding people out talking about Trump and his bullshit. So thought I'd share that with the audience or share that with you guys. And he is. He's trying to eliminate all his competition. The next thing is sanctuary cities. I perform and I own a business in a sanctuary city, and I talk a lot of shit. Truth to power in my sanctuary city. So I'm waiting for my studios to be raided in the middle of Zig In The Zone. That's why I'm taking it to the bunker.
You know, there's some advantages to being remote. It'll take a day or so to find me after they find you.
Right.
So, and I'm not just, I can be deadly serious with the analogies to the Nazis. My grandmother got picked up and put on a train in Poland and went to the camps. And a lot of family members, my father's brother, and kids, and a lot of people were lost. So it was ingrained in me that these things can happen since I was, in the crib
Right.
in Nazi. Yet I'm surprised because, like I say, 80 years, we should have advanced more than that. And I'm disappointed. So, Fred, let's talk a little ball. How about that to get our minds off this?
That sounds good.
Okay. Fred, you and I talked off the air a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned that Ohante could be the greatest baseball player ever. And you didn't bat an eyelash to that. It's possible, isn't it? If he's
well, they
if he
compare him to
stays
Babe Ruth.
healthy.
They compare him to Babe Ruth. The difference being when the Yankees got Babe Ruth from the Red Sox, he hardly ever pitched for the Yankees. He just 90% of the time he just was the hitter. Ohtani's doing both. The difference, though, on the other side is that Ruth lasted a long time. Ohtani, again, right now he's just throwing 3 innings. By August, September, will he go 5 or 6? It's a totally different game now. And there's books out about how stats have destroyed the game, and in some ways, it's totally different. Your object now is to go 6 innings. Well, when Ruth was playing, your object was to go 9 innings and throw 150 to 200 pitches, not 80 or 90 or 100 pitches. So, I mean, the game is different. I could make the case that Ohtani's the best player I've ever seen. I think he's going to have to last a few more years doing both. Last year, of course, he didn't pitch at all for the Dodgers. And, of course, he hit the 50 home runs and had the 50 stolen bases. But I think a couple more years, and you could definitely make the case that Shohei Ohtani is the best player that has ever played this game.
And, because he does double duty, those seasons could count as 2.
Yeah.
Not technically, but you know what I'm saying. And I'm just amazed at and coming from Japan too, the adjustment. Unbelievable. The adjustment. Where are you going to place your bets? Where am I going to? It is difficult getting your interpreter to keep his mouth shut. How about that? It's a crazy world we live in. I'll tell you that.
Anybody believe, honestly, that Ohtani didn't make some of those bets, if not all of those bets? Anybody believe?
Oh, of course he did.
So
Is he gonna have his $15 an hour interpreter be entrusted with taking the money? The interpreter could have taken that money that he was betting and just took off. Yeah, no question about that. But no one in MLB is gonna poison those waters, just like no one poisoned the waters when extracurricular activities were taken. Soto, McGuire, Bonds, Clemens, and no one spoke up in baseball. They all knew about it. And to keep Bonds out of the Hall of Fame at this point, when Bobby Estabella was Barry's teammate and gave me an interview a while back, and said that basically 80% of the people that he played with, Barry, were using. And that means that he was going up against pitchers that were using. And that he needs to be put in the Hall, unequivocally. Clemens does as well. And it'll start by evening out things a little bit.
all Barry had to do when he had the 755 home runs was retire. Tie Aaron. Don't break the record. And all the people, all the members of the press and all people around baseball would have said, okay, he's a better guy than we thought he was. I think he might be in by now. But he had to get the extra 7 home runs, 762, because his ego was so huge and so large. He'll eventually get in. But again, it's a struggle. And he made too many enemies. And he's in a situation now where he needs those enemies to see a positive side about Barry. I set up 2 interviews with him. He didn't make either one. Very few people have ever missed an interview when they set it up. That's Barry Bonds. He was a major league ego, and great player, and the Pirate fans and the Giant fans would never disagree. But he could have stopped at 7:55. When he hit that, I said on the radio, "Stop, Barry, stop," and just end it there. And he'd go down as one of the all-time greats. Now he had to get the extra 7 home runs, which he did. Congratulations! And now he's struggling to make it in the Hall of Fame.
You know, you're in radio, you're going to appreciate this. KNBR in San Francisco had the mics when he hit the home run. They deadened the mics. They said it was an accident, this and that, but it didn't go live on KNBR because, yeah. Hey, speaking of radio, how did you get into it initially? And I'm sure we talked about this. You've been on countless times. But I don't think I ever asked you in this venue, how did you first get into radio?
Well, first of all, when I was a little kid and I was a big sports nut, with my transistor radio, I tried to get the distance stations at night. I tried to get KEX in Portland and KNBR in San Francisco. KMPC here in Los Angeles would go dead every Sunday night. I actually got at the Chicago station, either 690 or 720. This is not in a digital radio, just a regular transistor type thing. So I loved radio. And then I started listening to the talk shows, and my mom was very political, and I was very political. And I started calling Joe Pine and the other ones in Southern California. And then they hired somebody named Steve Allison, not Steve Allen, but Steve Allison. He was called the man who owned midnight. And I made friends with the producer, Joan Lennox was her name, and Hope is her name. And she put me on the air. So my mom or dad, where I lived was like 5 minutes from KABC radio. And they drove me there. So 3 or 4 times, I actually did hours with Steve Allison, the man who owned midnight. So it was a dream. And then my first job, I was in college. I became a morning producer at KABC, ironically, 790 here in Los Angeles. And my job, I swore to you guys the following: to steal the traffic reports from KNX and put them in front of Bob and Ken on the morning show on KABC, because KABC had fired the helicopter lady, Kelly Lang. So they were saving money. My job was to steal the traffic reports from another station, KNX. I should have known there what radio is and was, because it's never changed.
That's a great story. That is an absolute story. Let me tell you something. Speaking of transistor radios, when I first got out to California, it was 1966. And I had a radio that could pick up all the local stations. And all of a sudden, a Pittsburgh station comes in, but it wasn't Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was Pittsburgh, California. So I said, wow, if I could get this on one night, if I could get Pittsburgh, I'm in California. I went out and bought the biggest transistor radio at the BX imaginable, and I still couldn't get Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I got Pittsburgh, California. I miss New York radio, as would you if you were in anywhere else but LA. It's what you get used to. You know who I used to get? I used to get LA on that station and on that radio, and I miss Chick Hearn very much. He did some basketball, take you out of the popcorn machine, and he made a basketball game incredibly interesting at that time.
He's been gone 23 years now, I think. I think it was 2002 that he passed away. Hard to believe.
Wow.
23 years. And next month,
That is,
3 years for Vince Scully. August 2nd, I do believe he passed away 3 years ago.
uh, um, mortality sucks. Let me tell you, we are we are losing a bunch of people we've lost and are in the process of losing from the Comfortably Zone network. So much so that I've told Paulie
we have to think of a better term than people passing on.
Yeah,
Especially for our network. They've gone to the big leagues. I don't know. I'm thinking of
yeah.
something. We got to have something. If Fred's on the DL, then those guys made it to the bigs or the Hall of Fame. Let's call it the Hall of Fame. It's called, I
The
mean, the comfortably
non-survivors, in a way. Um,
have gone to the Hall of Fame, the comfortably zoned Hall of Fame.
yeah, such as it is, such as it is. But I'm proud of this network. I We have about 3,200 plus podcasts of all kinds, mostly baseball, mostly golden age of baseball. What would you consider the golden age for Fred?
Well, again, when you're young, things stand out. So I loved the Duke, Willie, and Mickey. So yeah, the 50s, but that's probably because that's when I was born. So I mean that's you probably remember those things stand out. First game I ever saw that my dad points to the TV and he says, "That's the best player in baseball." And the next pitch, I swear to you, Duke Snyder hits a home run. So it was like I've always been a Duke fanatic. And then we went to when the Dodgers moved here in '58. Of course, Campanella was out forever, and then '59 they had the honoring Campanella night in March, and my dad took me 93,103. So I got to say the '50s to me will always stand out as the greatest decade in baseball.
The one nice thing Walter O'Malley did in his lifetime is honoring Campy on that night that you attended. I think that redeems him. Remember, he took my teams, basically his team, the Dodgers. My team was the Giants were going to Minnesota, O'Malley notwithstanding, but he didn't need to take that team. They were the biggest profit makers with that little bandbox going at that time in the National League. It was pure greed. And I was a kid, I was 11 years old, and I got to see baseball as it really was. I love it anyway, but it's not the same kind of love. It's not, it's a business. And like my grandfather said about the Yankees, it's like rooting for IBM.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, let me just say one thing. I'd like to mention this. Walter was one thing, O'Malley. Peter O'Malley, to me,
I knew you'd get to that because he was not only a business acquaintance, but you considered him a friend.
well, when I was doing KABC, I tried to be objective. And some of the players didn't like it. Steve Sachs and Mike Marshall, the right fielder, and Sosha, the captain and the catcher. They tried to fire me. And they brought me into a meeting with Peter O'Malley. And Peter turns to them and he says, "Let me tell you something. Fred is the most objective host we've ever had on Dodger Talk. He's staying as long as he wants to stay. You guys get out of here." And what can I say? And so Peter and I, every holiday season, and we go back and forth with cards and things like that. But he's not his dad. He's a different guy. And if he were still owning the Dodgers, they'd be a different organization. And I wish he was. Obviously, when he sold the team, the whole thing changed. They'd probably still be in Vero Beach instead of Arizona. And I realize Arizona's closer, but there's nothing like Vero Beach as far as old time baseball history and feelings and sensitivity. And the one negative, of course, it was so muggy. You'd take 3 showers a day. You'd walk out and you'd take another shower. But I'll never forget Vero Beach those years I went down there. So I think Peter O'Malley and folks out there, you can judge it as you wish. To me, he was you can't be a nicer human being.
You know, I'll tell you Peter O'Malley's story that may amuse you. As you know, I was the Topps rep. And one year I was at the baseball meetings in the Topps room, clerking or whatever. And Peter O'Malley was it was very tight quarters, a small room, and he was talking to Grabakowicz.
Billy Grabakowicz.
He was the first trade that O'Malley made after becoming owner. And Grabakowicz says to O'Malley, why me? Because after that, they, kept those guys, Loafs and Russell. They kept them together for 20 years. Why did you trade me? And he looks at Grabakowicz and says, I didn't know what I was doing. Not that it was a bad trade, he says, but it was the first one I ever made, and I had to do something just to be in the business. And they both looked at each other and smiled.
Yeah.
And that was a warm moment for me, because I was like eavesdropping on a conversation that would have, a lot of people would have liked to heard that. And so Peter was a good guy, but his dad wasn't, for the most part, getting back full circle to Campy. What did Campy mean? He never played in Los Angeles. But what was his influence on the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Well, I think the point of view, just like I saw Duke Snider as a young kid, people saw Campanella as a young kid. Of course, 55, they finally win the World Series. It carried over. And also, here was a guy that was multiracial, so it was like everybody sort of liked him. And versus the circumstances of the era and the time. But he was the focal point of that team before the December 57 traffic tragedy that happened to him. And, I used to see him all the time when I was doing Dodger Talk, and it was like, said hi a few times, but really never got into it. But, you want to just hug him, because there was a guy that the rest of his life totally, look at my hip bothers me. How do you compare that to being paralyzed? You know what I'm saying? It was like such a depressing.
Not just paralyzed, but quadriplegic too.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Terrible. Hey, let me catch my breath a little, Paulie. Would you do some business for the station and for Comfortably Zoned, if you would?
Absolutely, because I was going to say your mic is starting to do that thing. I was either going to say we should do what we normally do, or I should hang up on you and call back. But yes, let's do that business.
Why don't you do that and send me a message with the link to what we have going now, and I'll publish that while you're doing this.
I will try to do that, but let's see if we can get through the next. Because I would say the next 7 minutes.
Let's do that next week.
So first things first, let's do your socials, guys. Make sure to watch us, subscribe, ring that little bell everywhere you can get Zig in the Zone. on the Comfortably Zone Network. That's right, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and that's right, even on Twitch. There's our handles. Please go like, subscribe, and ring that little bell. That way, when we go live, if Paul's on time, which he was almost on time today, but even if he's late,
you came very close, Paul.
Considering I'm juggling and using a half scene, absolutely. But
Absolutely,
either way, when
absolutely.
we go live, when Zig goes live, you'll get notified. That's that thing. Zig, do your Zig Says, and the camera's on you while you're doing your Zig Says. So go ahead and tell us about.
Zig says, if you have any compassion for children, and that's not if you have any, if you have a particular amount of compassion, give take your books, children's books that are new or lightly used, and wrap them up and send them or bring them or have a collection in your city to the Head Start program. This government is cutting back on everything that's pro-education for kids. And we need to give kids a passion through reading. And I would venture to say that your passion for baseball, Fred, is partially through what you read as a kid.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, 100%.
And whatever it is, it doesn't have to be baseball, but kids will respond to something that you don't know they're going to respond to. So give a bunch of books. Have a neighborhood fundraising thing in all the communities around in Comfortably Zone's name or your own name, and take the books and enrich the kids' lives. Because we are falling so behind in reading scores in this country, in this world, that that's the big thing Zig has to say to make
There you
life
go.
better.
Right on. So now throw it over to your commercial breaks. It's going to be one to the other, but just say these are the people that let you sleep well at night.
Hey, we are lawyered up.
We are
in Alameda and Oakland, where we live. We have access to two of the best attorneys. One of them is my friend, has been for 25 years, has helped me, and he is the best thing I can say about him. He's honorable. He's an attorney that's honorable. Play his little cut.
All right, here we go, folks.
Whether it's criminal defense, estate planning, or civil litigation, the answer is the law offices of Andrew Doja. Call us today at 510-865-1600 or find us on the web at dojalaw.com.
For tenant and landlord disputes, there's no other than the law office of Jeff Canberra. Call now 1-510-865-7369, and don't forget to tell them Zig sent you.
All right, so we had a little bit of an echo there, but we're back.
Okay. How about the other one?
We played back-to-back commercials. There you go.
Oh, nice. The second attorney does the most interesting work in California. He brings renters and tenants and landlords, rather, together. There's a way of doing that through the courts, whatever it takes. But I think the biggest complaint with people in the looking for attorneys. They can't get someone to help them along these lines. And Jeff Canberra has done this for 20 years. And if you're having any sort of problems with renters and landlords, see Jeff, another honorable man. What more can we do for our listeners is provide you with two wonderful attorneys to call if and when you need them. So how about that for a commercial?
Oh, there you go. That's
Okay.
perfect. That worked out well. Well, we're back here, live in studios, multiple studios. We're doing what we're doing. It was cool hanging out with you, and it was going to get a little bit better each and every time, right? So
Always does. Always does. Fred, would you keep coming back, and would you keep rehabbing and get better yourself?
Thank you, and hopefully, and we'll go from there. And you guys have a great afternoon. And both of my brothers are attorneys. I'll tell.
Oh, well, if they move to Alameda, we'll give them some notice.
You know, the old joke. What's 300 attorneys at the bottom of a lake?
it's a good start. It's a good start. Yeah.
Well, these attorneys that we're sponsoring are the antithesis of that. That's all I can tell you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Fred, for joining us. You guys, please like, subscribe, and do those things that you do. I don't have Zig's little normal things, but we're going to do this for myself, Zig, and the rest of the crew. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll see you next week at 11 a.m. Ha ha! Yeah, we are. Absolutely.